Welcome back to the Make Time for Success podcast. This is episode number 92. Have you ever thought that you were meant for more in your work and your life? If the answer is yes for you, you're going to want to stay tuned for my conversation today with Coach Jo Bendle. Jo, like me, is interested in the topic of productivity, not just for what we can get done, but for the freedom that productivity can bring to us. Jo brings a total excitement and enthusiasm to her own big goals and to the work that she does with the women who are her coaching clients. She combines energy, strategy, and systems to help her clients get laser focused and claim more from their lives and their businesses. She is essentially a business energizer. And for me, she's one of the earliest examples of someone who took their vision for their lives and ran with it. She is a digital nomad, so she takes her laptop and travels the world. And this lifestyle has brought her happiness in her life and impact in her business. And we're all going to learn from her today. Let's go listen to this episode now. Hi, I'm Dr. Christine Lee, and I'm a psychologist and a procrastination coach. I've helped thousands of people move past procrastination and overwhelm so they could begin working to their potential. In this podcast, you're going to learn powerful strategies for getting your mind, body, and energy to work together so that you can focus on what's really important and accomplish the goals you want to achieve. When you start living within your full power, you're going to see how being productive can be easy and how you can create success on demand. Welcome to the Make Time for Success podcast. Hello, my friends. It is Dr. Christine Lee, and today I am face-to-face by video with the lovely Jo Bendle. She and I are just meeting face-to-face, but I think I've been following her for a very long time and very recently enjoying her new podcast, which is called Meant for More. I'm really happy to invite you onto the show. Jo, please say hello and introduce yourself.
Oh, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I've got a big smile on my face because I'm so excited to connect with you. And I know we've never had a conversation, but I already know we're going to have a juicy conversation. So that's exciting. So yeah, I'm Jo Bendle, the founder of the Meant for More movement. And I work with women in business to have a similar thing of like helping them get out their own way. And I specifically use the productivity and mindset tools because that's been what I've needed on my own journey. And it's been almost 10 years in business this year. So that's exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
10 years online. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you share with us a little bit of that early part of the story where you needed the productivity tools and the motivation tools to get you to where you wanted, and how did you structure all of that for yourself?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's been an absolute journey, and I don't mind sharing that. The things that I'm really passionate about is keeping it real. Like, it has been an absolute roller coaster. And of course, the best personal development journey I could ever have gone on, but I had no idea when I stepped into it. So I first started my business. I just had this one vision. I was like, I want to build a freedom lifestyle. I wanted to be able to run my business from anywhere in the world, but I had absolutely no idea how I was going to do it. And the firm belief that I didn't have any skills. I didn't know anything valuable to offer. So it was a really interesting start. But I really had this very, very strong desire for my lifestyle. And this is why it's so important for me where I always talk about, you've got to have like a vision of something, like something that really emotionally connects. Because when the going gets tough, which of course it does when we're doing something different, we've got to be able to come back to like, oh yeah, but I'm not going to stop until I get that because it means so much. And then productivity became the vehicle that I used to keep working towards the dreams. And then obviously I started being nomadic in my business, and I was a productivity coach helping other women. I've never really been that excited about productivity, but I am so excited about what it brings. And it was like, for me, it's like, oh, hang on, I found myself on the other side of the world. I really wanted to be able to work from anywhere. I've got all this time freedom, amazing, but I don't have any financial freedom because I really don't know what I'm doing here. And so that's when I started to get serious about, right, okay, I can have freedom in my life, but Freedom comes through discipline, basically. So the more kind of structure, but flexible structure that I started to sort of implement in my weeks, then I started to realize, oh, okay, there's something here. Like, this is really magical. So learning how to be more productive and get more stuff done whilst having more freedom, that's when I started to create the financial freedom as well. And so I had like a bit more of all of that. And then it was just this journey that I've gone on, like for me and my clients, of going, why don't we do the things that we know will help us, the things that will help us or move us closer to our goals? And that's when I realized, you know what, it's not just about productivity for women. There's so much more behind it. I mean, for everyone as well, but I think more so for us, because we have got this fundamental, most of us, fundamental thing around, I'm not good enough. So this is where my journey has been, is when I absolutely, like, we need these practical tools to be able to actually put one foot in front of the other. We need to know where we're going, but then we need this mindset. We need the mindset tools as well. When the going gets tough and we start thinking, I'm not good enough, I don't know enough, I need another qualification, and all of that, that's been the journey for myself and my clients. And it's been incredible. And I've just learned so much. And of course, I couldn't have dreamt of what I'd created for myself with my business and my life and traveling the world and having this international like empowerment movement. I'm like, even saying that, I'm like, what? So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
That's wonderful. Where did you start off geographically and where are you now? Just for our listeners.
I started off in the middle of the UK, and it's quite interesting because I had like, you know, this vision in my head that I wanted my mornings to be running along the beach or walking along the beach, like this absolute like clear vision. And I grew up in the middle of the UK, miles and miles away, like hours drive from a coast. So it was like, where's that come from? When I became nomadic, which was actually exactly 7 years ago, is I went to Australia, and it started there. And then I spent a lot of time in Australia and Bali and Thailand and back to Australia and bits of Europe and a little bit of Costa Rica, like various places. And now I'm in Spain. So now I actually got a home base in Spain. And every morning I walk along the beach. And that will never not be a significant thing for me, because I'm like, oh, do you remember when you wanted this?
I have chills. I think my listeners have chills right now too, because it's such a beautiful story about keeping a vision and finding your road straight to the vision. And sometimes it's straight to the beach, straight to the water. I love it. I also love how you started the story by saying you knew you wanted a business, but you also knew you were not in possession of all the skills that you needed to do it fully. And I guess that's how we all start in our businesses. I'm wondering personally, what were your mindset and productivity issues that you needed to overcome at the start? I'll bring you way back.
I mean, my mindset issues have been a huge challenge for me, because it was just self-doubt on steroids. Like, I don't know enough. I'm not good enough, like all of that stuff. So that was right from the start. And if I'm going to be completely honest, it still comes up now. It comes up now, but it doesn't knock me down or slow me down as much as it used to. I'm like, oh yeah, hi. And then I take the action anyway. But it was like crippling at the time. And what I will say is, and I've started talking about this a lot recently with my clients, because it's so important. We always get stuck in the, but how do I do it? And I only know the how because I can look backwards and say, oh, that's how I did it. And I would never have been able to put the steps in going forwards. And that's why all the stuff that we both like love and talk about is like, it is one foot in front of the other. Experiment, try something, like get yourself into action, make a plan, set a goal, go for it. On the way, you're going to course correct. You're going to learn. Like for me, it's just every time I put myself into action, I'm going to learn something. And that's how I grow. Not easy, came up with all of the challenges, and I wasn't available for letting my mind stop me, because I had this big desire inside of me about my lifestyle.
Okay, so to our listeners, let's start by having you get clear on your vision. And sometimes you need a coach to kind of help you nurture that vision, to help bring it out of you, to help you commit to it, and to help you know what kind of actions to take to make that vision come to life. And like Jo is saying, taking action is required, but it's oftentimes not easy. And oftentimes it doesn't feel easy either. I'm wondering, Jo, if you could share with us your ideas for
tolerating the yucky feelings that sometimes come even before we've taken action, that we're already procrastinating just in thinking about, this could be so much easier. This could be so much bigger. This could be so much more profitable, whatever it is, that we get afraid of dreaming. So could you help us through that?
There's just loads of things. And this is so exciting for me because I've learned now that it's actually just a switch that I need to flip in my head of the thought. The thought is like, oh my gosh, I don't know my next move, or this might not work. Instead, it becomes like, oh my gosh, like this feels so uncomfortable, which is exciting because it means that I'm stepping outside my comfort zone. And when I do that, I know that I'm growing and good things are coming and I'm learning. And if we were really honest, whilst that doesn't feel comfortable, I've learned to get really excited. I've learned now when I feel that, I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm in a growth spurt. I know I'm growing, and this is the internal growth. And it's like that snake that's shedding its skin. It's not fun. But if you choose to go, this feels uncomfortable, but I also know that this is how I grow, I'm excited to see where I'm going and seeing it as this is the transformation. So now that's how I'm able to look at it. Of course, it wasn't like that at the start. It was just like walking through treacle. But now it's just, oh my gosh, I can get excited about it. It means something. I think that's the most important thing. And going back to the vision, we all get so stuck and hung up on like waiting for clarity, needing to know what the thing is that I want. What's my purpose? It's like, no, stop that, right? What is it for now? Like in the next 3 months or 12 months, like what is the thing that gets you excited? Because it's so much easier to be like, so when we talk about mission, I think when I talk about, it doesn't matter whether you really got a business or not, but that for me has been my sort of the driver to create the lifestyle. And it was about, well, what's the mission? And I never knew because it didn't fit. I was like, I can't, it's just little old me. And now I'm able to step into the mission, but it will change. And I can now call it an interim mission. I'm like, what's your interim mission? Like, what's the thing right now that gets you fired up that you can't not do? And when we know that it's going to change and it's going to grow, like even when we think about the vision or the goals or whatever, the lifestyle, that's okay. It's going to change. So when we give ourselves permission to be like, this is the one for now that feels something inside, it's not like, let's remove this pressure to have the one thing.
Okay. Agreed. Absolutely. It's forward movement.
Yes.
And just deciding I'm going to be aware of the frustration and learn from it, but also not let it sink me, which I love.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about, what about the presence of other people and other obligations and limiting thoughts? You can tell I'm arguing for the other side today, but I just want to hear everything that you have used for just keeping your energy really high and your enthusiasm really high for staying the course.
Well, I think the first thing to say is, of course, it's not always high. Like I don't always feel like motivated and that it's easy. And that can we normalize the fact we're not meant to? We've all got this vision of like, oh no, like I'm not on fire this week, or, it's like, yeah, because life isn't like that. So when I've become so much gentler with myself around, oh yeah, when I'm in the zone and I can get lots done, and sometimes I'm not productive, and now I don't beat myself up about it. I'm like, this is part of the journey. And even in bigger chunks, like there will be stages in my business where I'm like actively focused on growing, and then there's stages when I'm actively focused on just maintenance mode, and that's a decision. So I use the word decide, and that is such a big part of what I believe in. It's just deciding. Like we've got to start making decisions, trusting it, and like going with it and knowing that you can't make a wrong decision because you can always course correct, change your mind. But okay, so I think it's about having this toolkit of lots of different things. So there might be, for me, walking along the beach, like getting out in nature, getting out on that beach and being like, okay, like remember how far you've come. Like really, one of the biggest tools that nobody uses is celebrating yourself. Oh my gosh, like I'm so proud I showed up for myself this week. That deserves a celebration because it's hard when you're doing things differently. When you haven't got people around you that understand, we had this big conversation about this yesterday in my group actually, and you learn, don't you, around, oh yeah, this isn't the thing that I should have. This person maybe just wants to know, yeah, I'm fine. They don't really want to know any detail because they can't understand it. And we save certain conversations and certain dreaming big conversations for the people that get it. And that's normal, right? That's totally normal. There's just like loads of different strategies, putting on the tunes, whatever your thing is. For me, it's always going to be going back to what's the vision? Like, what's the why? Like, what motivates me at the moment? And of course, at the start of my business, it was all about me, my lifestyle, bettering it. And then it evolved into like helping others. And now, like, the thing that will get me out of my own way and get me moving or getting out for a walk or moving my body so that I've got energy to show up in my business is I get so excited about empowering other women. Like when they say to me, well, so a client will say to me like, oh, Jo, oh my gosh, like something shifted, literally the best feeling ever for me. And that's how I move through stuff. Like it's about being, for me, it's like, what's the impact? It used to be all about for my own personal benefit. Then it's about helping others. And now it's like this impact makes me excited.
That's beautiful. And I remember hearing that on your podcast, and that made so much sense that it just takes the stress out of it because you've got so many people you want to help and you know you're being effective with that group, with so many women across the globe, which is amazing.
And removing it being about us. Like as soon as we stop, it's like, oh my gosh, like, can I make this next move? I'm not good enough. Instead of it being that, it's about this woman needs to hear this thing I've got to say. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting out my own way.
Yes. Yes. And I loved what you said also about lifestyle betterment, that it does not have to be about your business. And even if you have a business, that it's always okay to think about how can I next improve the way I live, the way I see the world, the way I get outside. All of those things can be changed within a day. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that, and then time goes by, and then we tend to feel worse about things instead of enlivened and enthusiastic and invigorated by things. I really do think we can recharge that on a daily basis.
Do you know what? I think my biggest strategy that works for me is I have this like identity called the real Jo. And as soon as I say, what would the real Jo do? My whole energy changes. I've been using this for a very long time, and it's just getting stronger and stronger and stronger because she is this, no, don't get me wrong, she's not like this perfect thing that I've created. In fact, part of her is like 25-year-old Jo who was brave and got out there and did stuff. I want to borrow parts of her for my next kind of like adventure. But also there's this version of me. So it's just like, right, when I say the real Jo, that is so empowering for me. Of like, oh yeah, I want to step into her shoes. She does things differently. The doubts don't stop her. She takes imperfect action. She's okay with like all of that stuff. And it is so powerful for me because like, oh yeah, literally when I say it, stand taller, sit taller, you know, it feels like I'm stepping into her. Oh yeah, she wouldn't be spiraling around these thoughts.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Alter ego stuff is always so good. And I just saw the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is a wacky, bonkers movie. But the theme really is that we're living, if I may say, we are living all the different possibilities all at the same time. We're kind of thinking, what if I had done that? What if this were slightly different? What if, and it's kind of psychedelic and sci-fi-ish and comedic in that way. But I feel like that's been my recent shaking up that I needed, that, wow, this is really something that we can all identify with because we're all kind of in a sci-fi movie where we can choose left, choose right, and have totally different experiences. All of them good, all of them part of our beautiful path. And I just love that you've got that going on steroids and that you're using it to help other people too. It's amazing.
Isn't it funny how you just find a way for yourself and then it just becomes your favorite thing to talk about? And of course, then we create something. Well, I just get to talk about my favorite things all day. And it's just like, oh my God. But this is the thing. We overcomplicate everything around life and growth and personal growth. I mean, it's not easy, but they are simple steps on repeat of like, are my thoughts serving me? Like, could I get better thoughts? I always say about my thoughts, I call them stories. Like, what's the story that I'm telling myself today? Get a new story. So like on repeat every day, what is the story in my mind? And that is going to determine how I feel, which will determine what action I take. Like, who am I being? So it also comes back to like, who am I being? like stepping into the identity of the person I'm proud of being. And so this is why I get excited about, we need some practical tools. Like, okay, set a goal, go for it, whatever. But we also do need this inner game work that kind of bringing them both together, isn't it?
Yes, I absolutely agree. That's why it feels so hard sometimes, but it's actually this beautiful tool, like you say, that we have. We each have this. Sometimes it's just dormant, or we've been ignoring it. We've been ignoring those inner nudges that really have been really trying to get us to look at things in a different way.
This is where the Meant for More movement came from. Like, the whole Meant for More was about, like, we know when we're getting the nudges. And we can choose to ignore them for so long until the nudges become like a little bit harder, and it's like, oh yeah, like I do want more. And then this comes back to like being able to give ourselves permission to say it's okay to want more. It doesn't mean we're selfish or greedy or etc. And actually, the better we feel, the better everyone around us does. Like, it's only ever going to improve everyone else. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're both in favor of imperfect action and just like going with it. It's okay. None of us are perfect.
And normalizing that. Can we normalize the fact that you are going to be frustrated and you are going to get in your own way, and you're also going to get out of your own way? My favorite thing is like, you're the problem. Hey, I am my own problem. I know that. I am also the solution. How empowering is that? Yeah.
I love it. I love that quote. This episode has been so chock full of quotes. I can't wait to go back and edit and take clips out of it to share. Before we wrap up, can you describe more about the program that you have for women in business and how people can get into that program?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Yeah, so it's actually called The Lab because I'm a firm believer of what it really takes to step into your next level in life and business is to experiment. And so we kind of go into there and we start experimenting, and we give ourselves permission to do that. And it is basically like fast tracking you into using all the tools that are going to allow you to, stand taller and be that version of you who does go after what she wants, that more, like claims the more that she's meant for. And it's a group coaching / mastermind. It's this beautiful hybrid of like imperfect action. But when we come together and we talk about the challenges and we normalize it, oh my gosh, like everybody feels this. It is all based around my own productivity system, which is around knowing what you want, that vision, and using the tools around setting our monthly goals, our weekly, our daily, like actually getting ourselves into action. All I want is to get people into action, because I know that brings up all of the stuff. I'm not good enough. What will people think? People are going to judge me. I'm going to not belong somewhere, all that stuff. I'm like, great, get into action. Let's bring it up. So then we can bring the mindset piece in. And then there's the action piece on a daily basis. What does that look like? So you can find it on my website, jobendle.com/the lab. And if anyone's got questions, just reach out to me. It's a very safe environment. I think that's what people say. It's like very high vibe, like the energy, but also it's super safe to be like, I'm struggling,
I love it. I love it. I just remembered that I want to have you talk about the podcast as well.
Oh, yeah.
Since it's a brand new project for you. So could you just share with us your back and forth about it and how it got launched and what made you decide to actually do it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So I've always wanted to write a book. And over the last few years, I'm just not getting closer to writing the book. It's a big kind of block for me. And I know that the book will be very different to the one that I would have written 3 years ago. And it's still struggling to get it out of me. So the Meant for More podcast was about me finding my voice, claiming this like Meant for More movement. And also I want it to be a resource so that I can send people who are struggling with something. I'm like, oh, go and listen to this episode. So it's me really building a resource library of the tools and the strategies and the philosophies that I have used to keep like claiming my more. And that's what it's about. And as always, whenever we do something new, it really did challenge me. It was, I think in the end, it took me about 5 months before I actually got it out there, which was, crazy. But also, when we're doing something new, all of the I'm not good enough stuff or your own version of getting in your own way will come up. And so, what I did is what I already always know works is tell somebody it's going to be live on this date, as in tell my audience, and then I got to do it. And so then I got it done. And I basically took massive imperfect action and was like, this is just me sharing little short episodes of like, I want you to know this thing, and then off we go, and just getting everyone fired up. So it's new, it's about 6 weeks old, and I'm enjoying it.
And it's beautiful. And Jo's energy is really on fire. In these podcast episodes. They're totally delightful and so packed with great inspiration. Jo has a way of just getting really at the deeper way that these tools are going to be helpful for you. It's not just the surface, we'll do this and think this. It's really kind of like why this is going to work for you, which I really appreciate as a listener.
I think that's the thing I always have to say to anyone that comes to work with me is like, it will be confronting. Bring it on. Yeah.
Bring it on. Okay. Well, everyone, we have successfully introduced Jo to you. I hope you got so much out of this episode. So many quotes, so many pieces of joy, so many visions of walking the beach and seeing new spaces, if that happens to be your jam. And if it's not, we hope that you can now focus a little more carefully and clearly on what lights you up too. So Jo, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
We will see you next Thursday when the next episode of Make Time for Success drops again. Okay, see you soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make Time for Success podcast. If you enjoyed what you've heard, you can subscribe to make sure you get notified of upcoming episodes. You can also visit our website, maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com, for past episodes, show notes, and all the resources we mention on the show. Feel free to connect with me over on Instagram too. You can find me there under the name Procrastination Coach. Send me a DM and let me know what your thoughts are about the episodes you've been listening to. And let me know any topics that you might like me to talk about on the show. I'd love to hear all about how you're making time for success. Talk to you soon.